just cleared out this whole patch of land right here for no apparent reason really. Sometimes I just need a mindless task in the world. Clear out the space, clear out a few trees, or just mine out a few blocks while I listen to a podcast with my girlfriend. So this was one of those moments. Sometimes we would just turn on a crime podcast and then we would both be doing our own things and then just listen to the podcast. And I really like those moments. Hello, welcome back everyone. My name is Tiai, and if you're new here, I do weekly videos of me building in my Japanese-inspired forever world. And in today's episode, I have something very special planned out. Before that, it was pretty hard for us to see like what's happening behind right there. But now with all the trees gone here, we can see a bit better the island that we made a while ago. Maybe one day I'll have to like flatten this whole terrain out a bit. That way you can see the mountain better. But yeah, that's a really good progress so far. But before we head outside of the city, let's gather a bit of a material first. So in here, in the previous 2 episodes, we built out this whole skeleton farm. So we just have to stand right here, and then skeletons would spawn in. Well, strays to be exact, because we convert them into strays first to get the tipped arrows. Yeah, I really love this farm. Alright, here they are. They start spawning in. It takes a bit of a time because they need to be converted first, but I would just normally AFK here and start whacking them. Good source of XP, but all of the products would go into this hopper right here, and then they would be collected in this building. So here it is, the Boneworks Inc. And then if we head inside right here, we have a whole interior dedicated to the skeleton farm. So this is meant to look like a factory where the bones kind of go into this whole conveyor system and convert it into bone meals. And right here we would have the tip arrows, the normal arrows, and then right here we have the bone blocks. And right here on the shelves we would have the bone meals. Very neat. So for this project right here we would need a lot of bone meals. So let's take one of this. Let's check all of the bone meal right here. Perfect. So right here under the city, we do have a sewer system right here, which is not completely built out yet. Oh, and yes, this is where I leave all my mobs and pillagers at the moment. But the whole plan of this whole area is to create a sewer system that kind of goes all over the town, connecting the surface and the bottom level. I think it'll be cool to have like a whole canal here. So we'll work on that eventually. But right under here, we do have my creeper farm as well. This is for my gunpowder. In front of here is also where I hide my foliage farm. And I would normally just put some bone meals right here, put them inside of here, and then I just have to put the redstone dust and then activate this. Same for this one right here. I do need a shear for it, but I could just put the bone meals inside and then just crouch, find an angle, and start harvesting them. In the last video, we worked on this whole area right here. Probably one of my favorite works so far. And right here we have a blacksmith house in a Japanese traditional style. And I purposely made it out in the open like this because I do want to make a whole village in that section right there. But before we do that, if we look over here, we can see that the back of this whole area is not fully terraformed yet. Before we start with the village right there, I do want to work on this area right here, connecting this side to this other land right here, and also terraforming this bit right here because we do have a great foundation for a tiny little island right here. And once we connect this house to this whole area, I think it would make sense to connect it to the whole village, which will be the big project of this whole section. So let's start working on the terraforming first. Okay, I just completed all of the terraforming on this side right here. And you can take a look at it real quick. I basically just extended what we have right here and bring it all the way to this side, all the way up until right about this point right here. This route right here is going to connect all the way to this train station that's going to be connected on the mountain right here. So I'll be doing this site later on in the next episode. But for now, we can see that everything here has been completely done. You can see all of the side on the walls right here going all the way up to that point right there at the end. That's all of the stuff that we're going to be terraforming in this video. But placing grasses down, I did not know that it would be this nauseating. Like literally when I was placing all of the grass, I kid you not, my stomach starts to churn. I think it's just like all the motion sickness of just like placing grass over and over again, back and forth. Because I would do something like this kind of motion, like grass placing, and just spam it. And I kid you not, like my whole stomach now feels like dookie. And it's all because of this grass placement. And I think after this video, I won't be terraforming again anytime soon. But with that being said, the more I look at this patch of island right here, the more I see the potential of creating something right here. Just like an in-between kind of island between this side and this side. Something just really small that just adds a lot to the space. So I kind of want to add a bit more to this island right here, build it out and create a little rocky area and maybe place one tree at the top. So before we move on to that space right there, let's try and build out the island right here. And there we have it, the tiny little island right here. As you can see right here, I did use the base from the previous tiny patch of island that we had. I put a couple of rocks and then a tree in the middle. And now it's looking so much better. There's so much life to it now. So the right side of this whole section is pretty much done. As you can see right here, this tree right here kind of bridges the gap between this side and this. But also just to give a bit more point of interest to the specific area right here. So for someone that's going to be going on a boat and then they can see this tiny patch of island, you know, it just makes the whole area a bit more interesting. We're going to terraform this side of the island first. I think that way we have a clearer vision of what I'm trying to build here if we finish this off first. So we're pretty much going to do the same thing that we did right here. We're going to keep the basic layout of the island, but just enhance it, right? And just to clean it up a bit. As you can see right here, there's like a crack. Gonna fill that up. And then you can see the height differences. That's a bit jagged. We're gonna fix that up also. But I also want to keep the inconsistencies in the layout a bit, you know, because it is a natural landscape. We don't want to make it too uniform or too clean. As I did right here, you can see there's like a lot of different elevation to the area. Even though I fully terraformed it, I added custom grass with the moss and everything, but I still wanted to keep that messy and that organic feel that nature has. And as you can see right here at the back, I haven't fully terraformed this site right here and that site all the way to the city. I do want to terraform that eventually, but I just don't know what to do with that whole space. But for now, let's focus on this island right here. Okay, I just got back from finishing the build and putting all my stuff in the storage system right here. So I have an automatic system that sorts out all of the stuff in the storage here. So everything gets stored automatically. And I was just about to showcase the island right there, and I just realized from this point of view right here, it looks like we haven't been doing any work at all, which is kind of funny to say. Because placing foliage and grass, as I fly there right now, is probably one of the hardest things that I've done in Minecraft. It's just so tedious, it's so mind-numbing. But if you look at it up here especially, you can see how nice all of this area looks now with all of this foliage and grass and terraforming done. And you don't really see how much terraforming is done unless you see it up close like this. You can truly see that I've placed so many different types of grass, bushes, and fireflies all across the area. But thankfully, we're pretty much done with the whole terraforming side of this whole project that we're doing today. So let me give you guys a better look at the whole area right here as I get up here on the pole. As you can see right here, you can see the path from that side going all the way to this side. And it splits under here as well to different branches. And it would all make sense in just a sec right here. But as you can see right here, it goes to this side. And then there's one right here. And then there's one more point right there. So it's kind of creating this whole rectangular walkway, and I put a lot of thought into this whole layout of the walkway right here, so it'll all make sense later on when we do finish up with this whole building. But just to talk about a bit of what I've done here, as you can see, I mimic what we had here on this side right here with the same flowers, the same type of bushes. It's all pretty much the same as on the right side right here. We want to keep it consistent, but on this side, I purposely didn't put any trees for a good reason. I originally had planned to put trees, the same type of trees that we have here, but you know, having this open landscape, it just makes it a bit more interesting. You can see the distance, you can see the mountain range, you can see the temple on the side, and also when we do have the village right there, we can see the whole village all the way from the city right there. So for someone like me that's still learning about terraforming, I find it really interesting that the biggest takeaway from this whole project right here is that you need to be deliberate with your block placement, but also with the landscaping work that you're trying to make, right? Because it's easy to just place a lot of grass and foliage to make everything look full, but to have a reason why certain places look the way that you intentionally make it to be, that's where it starts creating this distinction between a good terraforming job and just an okay one, if that makes sense. But before we put our finishing touches, I do want to do one more thing to complete our last video, which is the blacksmith right here. Probably one of my favorite buildings that I've created so far. And inside, we did have all of this whole interior built out already. The only thing that we're missing right here is our blacksmith. So I already designed a place for him already here. You can see that it has a honey block, so they can't get anywhere. So my plan here is just to put a blacksmith villager here. That way I do have a reason to come back here and just visit this whole place again right here. So first, let's get back to our town and get a villager. So right here inside of the town, if we head all the way up here, all the way to the abandoned area, which I have not fixed up yet, and up here to a very, very old section of my city, which will be demolished eventually. We do have a few villagers here that I've bred. Let's see which one has the best trade here. This one's pretty decent. We do have a bell here. Okay, these two are pretty much the same. Let's see this one right here. The armorer, nothing too crazy as well. I guess the feather falling would be pretty cool. Or maybe even the bell one, because I do use a lot of bells for my builds. And that would give me another reason to visit that whole area. So yeah, let's take this villager right here. So first I have to make some boats. And then let's grab some lead. Oh, there we go. 3 should be more than enough. Now all we have to do is just put them in a boat. I do only need just one here, so I have to isolate them somehow. Oh, there we go. Alright, perfect. So those are the 2 that I won't be taking, which means I do need another boat. There we go. Now we just have to... Wait, where's the other one? Oh, there he is. Alright, perfect. Now let's bring him out in the open right here. And then we can grab our appa. Look at how nice this side of the base is already. I just gotta work on this side right here. And then this whole area is going to be a great landmark. Okay, if I remember correctly, I think I gotta lead my Appa first. And then, oh, maybe not. Now we just gotta fly all the way out there and put him in the house, which is gonna be a super, super long fly back there. Okay, we're so close. It took me like 5 whole minutes, which is kind of crazy to think. I won't stop complaining on how slow the happy gas is. It's kind of ridiculous sometimes. But here we are, which actually reminds me, I've never taken Appa all the way out here. So this would be the first time I've taken him very far outside of the city. All right, here we go. Now this is the part where I wish I brought a shear with me. So I gotta fly back now. Alright, and I know the happy gas and the elytra is supposed to be used differently, but look at how fast I get here. Oh no, where is he taking him? But yeah, look how fast I got here, which is kind of crazy. Like, they definitely need to buff the happy gas somehow, because that was not ideal. Okay, now we just gotta bring him all the way up here somehow. Get him through this small gate. Oh, I know. Gonna go through the window right here. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay. Now we just gotta push him. Can I even push him? Boom. Oh, okay. That didn't work. Okay. There we go. Now, I don't think you should be able to get out from there. But yeah, that's... Okay, that's perfect then. Now, the final touch of this build, I would actually need your help. Do you guys have a name suggestion for this villager right here? Any name would do. Leave them in the comment section below and I'll make sure to use them in the next video. Alright, let's get you back home, big guy. Now, as I take him back home right here, I do want to talk about the last part of this whole build right here. This bridge right here. We're missing this whole giant bridge that connects this whole section and the right side here. Which is kind of crazy to say, but this is probably going to be the highlight of this whole area right here. Because we do have an open landscape, which is not supposed to be like the main focus of the whole area. But this bridge right here and the little stuff that we're going to be putting all across this tiny island right here is going to be just a little breadcrumbs of lore and city building. Oh, another rain. It's so weird how it always rains when I record. I'm telling you. Oh, we're also missing a few trees here on the right side. So we're going to be adding trees on the right side there. And then we can start with the whole building on this island right here. So let's get started. And there we have it, the island finally completed. Now, it may not look like it's a lot of building in this episode, but believe me, it's a lot of building, right? If you look at this island right here and this whole area that we worked on today, it might not seem like, much has changed on the surface. But in reality, this took like probably about 12 hours of building in total. That's not counting the pre-planning and coming up with the ideas and building it and testing the building out first. That is purely just placing the blocks. That took me about 12 hours. That's a lot of building. And I'm pretty much done with building trees and terraforming for the next few weeks. But with that being said, I do want to highlight a few things in this area right here, go over all of the stuff that we've made here, and talk about why I made certain decisions. To start things off, I think it'll be good to talk about the road itself here that we have here, because again, this is what connects everything. And this road right here may seem simple and not a lot is going on here, but in reality, this is probably the biggest storytelling element that we have here in this whole area. As you can see right here, this is the entrance to the village that we're going to be building on this spot right here. So that's going to connect to this spot, and that road will lead to this road right here, where we have a small dock and a few ships here that we'll talk about later. And there's also a few boat shacks right here for people to put their boats in and park their boats under a shelter. And there's like a rectangular shape here to connect all the roads. And basically what was in my head is what would be the most natural way for people to travel here. And obviously if they were from this bridge right here and they were going to the town, they would take the path with the least resistance. And same goes if they do want to go to this boat right here, they'll take the road that has the least amount of resistance, which is right here. And there's also this triangular on each corner, right? What the idea behind that is that people would probably not want to make a 90-degree turn, which doesn't feel natural. So there's like a path here that goes directly to the other side right here, because you wouldn't be making a turn like this, right? That just feels a bit robotic and unnatural. So you would make the easiest path possible to go to where you need to go. So yeah, this road is basically the road that the villagers or the people that live here normally take to travel between spaces. And adding these stuff just gives you an additional layer of lore and story to your world. Like you can clearly see the path where people usually walk on and where these people go to, and that just kind of adds another layer of storytelling in your world, and it just makes your world a bit more grounded and makes it feel more alive. Now that we've talked about the roads, the next thing we'll talk about are the trees here. So we have the same trees that we have before, which is these pine looking trees at the top right here. And we also have the same trees that we have in the blacksmith areas going all the way to that point where it completely cuts off. And we have the same trees also on this side, but none on this side right here, except just this one tree right here, which we'll talk about in just a sec. But I deliberately wanted to cut off the trees only on this island, so we have this giant open space here, because this space right here is supposed to be just an in-between space between areas, like between the mountains, between the village, and between the temple right there. So having this open space right here just allows us to view the areas in the distance a bit more. Like you can clearly see the temple right there, and when we do have the village here, you can clearly see the village from here. So it's just a nice open space that tells a story but also serves a purpose in the world. Now we do have some special trees right here. One of them that we've talked about before right here on the small patch of island. This is one of the trees, and we also have another tree right here which kind of blends in with the background a bit, but this tree right here is on the edge of this cliff. When I was building this out, I was thinking about how perfect it is just to have a tree at the end of this cliff right here, just kind of dangling out a bit. Like you can clearly see the leaf kind of dripping out from one side, and it just creates a very scenic route, especially if you're just taking a boat ride from this spot right here. I'm not giving the best representation of what it would actually look like, but you can get the vibe, right? Just from this angle right here. Now, the other tree that we have is the one near the boathouse right here. It's just a small tree on the corner right here. I think the idea behind this tree right here is because all of this area is very tree heavy, and I do want to tie up the area neatly. So we do have this one tree right here and that one right there. So it kind of encapsulates the whole area very nicely here. But it also serves another purpose here, because there's like a huge hill right here. So this is kind of like in between the hill and this flat ground right here. We do have a tree, so that's like a nice in-betweener. The last tree that we have is all the way on the edge of this island, which is probably one of my favorite tree, because when I was building out this whole area, again, like I wanted it to be natural. So this whole area right here, like it was naturally generated in the whole area, and all I had to do was just to terraform these rocks on the side. But when I was building this out, all the way at the end here, something was missing. Again, with that cliff right there, I just had the idea to put one more tree, and this might be a huge tree, but and it might be a bit overpowering, you know, especially if we do have other elements here like the village later on and a train station back there. This might be super overpowering, but I just can't help it, you know, like seeing this whole space right here just really well. And one of my favorite parts about this tree is that we do have the roots kind of going all the way into the water right here. So the roots kind of go down there and it just makes it feel very immersive, you know, like everything just feels like it's meant to be there. You know what I mean? But yeah, it just makes it feel a bit more grounded and more realistic. Tiny inconsistencies in the world. Now, I do want to talk about the terraforming real quick. It's pretty simple, but I do want to make a few distinctions right here on the terraforming part where we do have this more muddy and brownish kind of look with this cliff face right here. And this just fits the vibe or this opening right here. If we head over to this side right here, we do have a rock faces where it's more mossy and stony, right? Like this one right here. And we do have one more on this side of the area where it's more mossy and stony again. And having that distinction right there just creates a more realistic world where everything is not uniform, right? Same goes for these parts right here where it's like a very perfect. It's raining again. But we do have this very mossy, muddy area. And we do have the same thing right over on this side, but it's less dense because it is closer to the open water. So I purposely made it less dense and less muddy. We don't have as much reeds and plants here. It's not as heavy as on that side where it feels more muddy, if that makes sense. So now we can talk about the boat houses right here. Now I just saw some references on Pinterest on Japanese boat houses, and I thought it would fit really well in this area specifically because again, like you could dock your boats there. I think it would make more sense to have a small shack right here where it's like covered from the rain, which is actually pretty on theme because it rains a lot in this world. So I think it would make sense to have like a small boat shack where they can place their boat safely. And I just weathered the roof a bit to make it more weathered and kind of fit the nature kind of vibe here. And same goes for the dock that we have here on this other side. It's not supposed to be super flashy. Again, it's just for a small village right here. So we don't have like a huge dock like we do on the town. It's pretty modest. And I made a couple of boats right here. And we do have one big boat here at the end and a few smaller boats here. One of my favorite parts, again, I saw a painting of like boats on rows in Japan and I just wanted to recreate that look here in my forever world. So we do have some planks kind of connecting boats to the shore. At least in my head, what I'm thinking about while I'm building this is this boat is just too big to fit in this dock right here. So they would need to connect it other boats to, you know, get some stuff onto land. So we do have this makeshift kind of planks going all the way across to the shore right here, which is very cool. Again, small little detail just to add to the atmosphere. And yeah, we just have a small dock right here to accommodate the people of the village. Nothing too crazy. And it just connects all the way to the dirt path right here. A small tiny detail that I do want us to look at is all the way here. We do have a cart fallen down. I saw this reference on Pinterest and I just had to recreate it because it's just so funny and it fits so well with the vibe. So it's like a cart falling down and it's just kind of like abandoned, but it fits the storytelling very well. Yeah, just like, again, adding small details. All right, the rain finally stopped. So we do have one more thing to look at, which is the bridge right here. Now this bridge right here may seem very simple, but it's actually very hard to make, especially on an angle like this. So a lot of thought and effort was put onto this bridge right here. It connects this whole area where the train station will be at. So people who do want to go to the village from the train station, they would have to cross this bridge. So this is like a super important bridge in the whole area. And I wanted to make sure that it looks the part. It looks good, it looks sturdy, and it mainly uses wood. Again, like it's in a village, rural area. I do want to fit the vibe. So we do only use wood on this bridge right here, and we do have a head right here, so I needed a block where it kind of signifies like there's like a nail or like a supporting beam right here to use a very contrasting color than the woody color that we have. So I do use a custom head here. I think it's like a cold block just to give it a bit more detailing, and like everything else I do have more details under the bridge. Like we do have leaves here collecting under the bridge, and I also purposely made the dirt under the bridge a bit darker and brownish because again, it's not getting a lot of sunlight. It's a bit more darker, and there are like less plants that do grow around this area. So we do have a few dead bush around this part, which fits the vibe. so we reached that part of the video where I call dialogue, where I read your comment from the last video. So we do have a comment from Lazy Astral. They ask, how do you manage to make curved roads? I am assuming you're talking about the train bridge. They seem so natural. When I design curves, they keep kind of zigzagging. So that's a great question. I did get a lot of question regarding this bridge right here, which kind of makes me happy and proud with how I did it. So I think they were referring to this curve right here. So how I did that part specifically is that I used a tool on Axiom. I think it's called tool pathing, something like that. So I kind of mock up a line where the train tracks would kind of go. And then from there, I kind of tweak it manually again and try to make it look natural. So again, it's still a lot of trial and error. So Axiom is like a super powerful tool that could help you build better. But again, you still need to put in the work and make sure that everything looks natural on your own. Like you need to have an eye for it, and that comes with practice. So maybe one day I can show it off during a stream. I think it'll be cool to bring up how I built these stuff in my creative process. So the second comment is from U7 Felix. They said, your terraforming and nature building has improved so much. To be honest, I wasn't a fan of the candles on grass when I first saw it, but this video completely changed my mind. And thank you for that. I also wasn't very confident on the candles at the start. I think especially if you look at it up close, right? You can see that there's like a gap in between them, and it kind of breaks the illusion for me. And especially if you look at it head on, like on the same Y level, you know, it doesn't sell the effect very well, right? But I think again with these terraining that I'm working on, like they're not supposed to be looked on up close. They don't really hold up when you look at it super close, but when you look at it from a distance and you look at it as a whole, they do create this really immersive and very cool scenery. And you know, like with the limitation of the game, where plants and flowers are not as abundant as other blocks, you know, you got to utilize everything that you have in your tool belt and try to come up with something that might not be ideal, but you know, it works. So yeah, I'm glad you liked it as well. But yeah, before we wrap up the video, I do want to mention one more thing, that I do have a Patreon. So if you do like my build and you enjoy what I've made here and you want to support me, you want to download what I've made, you can head over to my Patreon. You can also get all of the assets individually. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.